is January 13th, and it is 6 p.m. I will now call the Select Board meeting to order. If you can please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, on the agenda tonight is to deliberate and select our town administrator. So we had some really good candidates last week on Thursday. And I know I've been over this so many times with our different candidates, and I'm down to 2 applicants. And the 2 applicants that I think are going to be best for the town of Granby is either Shelley Parita or Michael Durham. So I wanted to lean on the board members and see where their thoughts were going with the applicants. I think they're all qualified that came in front of us. I do want to make the announcement that one of them did withdraw his application, which was Scott Butcher. So he withdrew his application from the candidacy. So we're down to 3 left.
So I also was at the point of narrowed it down to 2, excuse me, and it was the same 2. Regardless of the withdrawal, I didn't think that the other candidates had as much experience and would feel as comfortable in the town as one of these candidates that we're talking about now.
I think I ended up with 2 as well. Shelley Parita, Parita, and my other one was, if I can get his last name correct, is Michael Zolak.
Yeah, it wasn't Slozak. He pronounced it.
Slozak.
Yeah.
Okay, that was mine. You know, I look at, as he referred to himself as Mike, I look at Mike's experience. You know, he was close to 15 years as a town administrator. And when, you know, actually some towns in Massachusetts are larger than Granby, and then one that's very similar to Granby or close to size, where it currently is North Brookfield. So. You know, it's just, it was hard to shy away from someone that has that much experience with it. You know, Mike, it was my only concern with Mike was that he had mentioned that, you know, he doesn't know how long he'd be around for, which to me is, he said, you know, at least, he said maybe at least 2 contracts, which to me is 6 years. I don't know if I want to have the you know, the select board looking another 5 or 6 years for another town administrator. So that's what my concern with that was. But again, I look at his knowledge, experience that he's had over his career. And again, just looking at you know, town administrator for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different towns. Closest by is Ludlow. He is, you know, fairly close to us as far as proximity for living. So that was one of the things that I looked at as well. So that's why I'm with those. So.
That was actually, I'm glad you mentioned it, Glenn, because I had written down as we were interviewing him that he said, when you had asked the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? He said close to retirement. So that was one of my concerns for the board who does take over, that they would have to go through the process. And I mean, it's not to say that if we pick another applicant that we're not still gonna be going through the process within that 5 years,
And
so.
that is true, and that's the same thing I thought,
Yeah.
Crystal, just because we picked someone else, or doesn't mean that's the case, or doesn't mean that, you know, he decides to stay longer. He enjoys
Yeah.
working, he enjoys doing what he's doing, and he may decide, if he was given the opportunity to stay longer, I don't, those are all what ifs, but I just go based on some of the information that we had, on hand at the time, for at least for myself.
I agree that he did have a lot of experience, as you say, with the town administration. And I was impressed with his resume, but I did have concern that he wouldn't be here longer term. And again, to your point, we don't know if there are any guarantees with any of the candidates that are available now that they'll be here longer than 5 or 6 years anyway, so. I believe they're all good choices.
So now we have to narrow it down to the best choice for the town of Granby.
Well, for myself, I think, I know the both of you mentioned Michael Durham. Just for myself, look at his resume and qualifications. I think it's less than the other two, just based on what areas he's qualified in and what he was doing in respect to his current occupation. And I'm not taking anything away from him, and I did a nice job with the interview. And again, he had some, I think, some solid candidates that came forward. So, having a difficult decision to make is a good thing. In this case, in regards to the people we have in front of us. But like I said, to me, I look to myself. I believe Shelley and Mike had more qualifications, experienced, and what I was looking for in a town administrator versus what Michael Durham had. That's all. He had a lot of experience in a lot of different areas, but I thought the other two had more experience that was more aimed and geared, if you will, towards a town administrator position.
That was one of my cons, because I did pros and cons for each candidate, and that was one of my cons as well for Michael Durham. Day-to-day workings, he said he was gonna struggle with, or was gonna be a weakness, not so much struggle with. He would need procurement certificate, learning the Mass General laws. So it just seemed like there was a lot more that was going to be needed as far as experience prior to. So I did have that as well.
As far as Michael is concerned, I was quite impressed again with his resume all around. I did have a few concerns in regards to what you just mentioned, procurements and being in such a different field at this point, I guess I could say. I was very impressed with some of the numbers that he has out there, especially with in regards to his budgeting. If he's 0.1% off a target on a $16 million budget, that was pretty impressive. I think that he could pick up things very easily and learn as he went. And he does have a stake in town where he has children in school. So I think he has a lot of incentive to do right by the town if he gets the position. And I think that his level of expertise would come right into play for him. I like the fact that he's very prolific with software, where he could bring all the software in town together possibly and interact all of the departments easier than trying to sit down at a table by putting it in programs and bringing it all together that way.
Well, I'd ask the two of you if it came down to, obviously we had two we came down to. The one person we have in common, amongst the three of us, is Shelley. So I don't know if that's, the direction, I don't know how you had them, you know, 1 and 2, or how you looked at that, but.
I was really tied between both of them, to be honest with you. There's pros and cons to both. I mean, Michael Durham could start in 2 weeks, whereas Shelley Parita, per her contract, has to give a 90-day notice to her employer. So then my mind went to, well, what are we gonna do? Chris is gone January 24th. So what does that mean for the town? So I did do some legwork to figure out, because I didn't want to make a decision that was going to hurt the town and how it was running. And I called Chris and talked to Chris today. It would be the police chief who would have to take over in the absence of a town administrator. And then my mind went to, well, Chris, he's going to need help if he's taking over. Would you be willing to consult? And Chris said he would be willing to help, whether we appoint either Kathy Leonard or the chief of police as the interim town administrator. He would be willing to consult with either one of those at no charge to the town. So then my mind went, okay, so if we do pick this person in 90 days, within that 90 days, can she at least do part-time? Can she at least come, do a couple hours, learn the town, try and build those community relationships and stuff? And Kathy did send her an email asking if that was a possibility. She did say that she would be willing to discuss it, but she has to talk to her superintendent and school committee before making a formal commitment, if we were to go that route. And I did talk to Chief O'Grady as well, and he said he's willing to do whatever the select board asks him to do for the town. So I just wanted to make sure that we came with all the information before I made a decision tonight.
That's, I would agree with that.
So,
And my thought process as well, Kathy is the assistant to the town administrator. She did a fine job when Chris was out there for a little while. I have no problems and concerns with Kathy. The board at that point decides to do something like that. I think the police chief has his own department and concerns to be with, so, and I know, just like you talked about Mr. Martin, I know he would be there for Kathy to pick up the phone, had a question about one thing or another. So the 90 days, when I first saw it, I kind of thought the same thing. The 90 days is a long time out, but also I look at, that's her respecting her current employment that she has. She's honoring her contract she has. She's honoring the people that she's working with now to make sure that she's fulfilling their needs. And knowing that and reading the email that she sent, that's who something I look for as moving forward. Again, is that professional piece there, knowing that, hey, I have an obligation now. I need to fulfill that. I need to make sure that I don't just leave someone and move on to something different or something better. I need to take care of what I've signed on to already. So I appreciate that part of it as being a professional. And I truly believe if it is Shelley that we go with, this town can make through 90 days, especially with Mr. Martin willing to assist, Kathy Leonard in place, and there is a possibility that, I would think, if Shelley may say, yeah, I can come, come down, this could be my, remembering back to her interview, talking about the next chapter in her life. It's a career move that she wants to take, that's next, to be part of that. So I see her having the opportunity, would probably say, yes, I'd like to come down, start meeting people, before I even start there on a permanent basis, start to meet the department heads, start to be in the process of the budget on her part. I think, like you said, it's a career for her, it's something she chose, something she wants to do. And there's a commitment there that I see in her, just listening to her. So.
To clarify, Kathy is willing to assist the chief. She's not willing to be town administrator or the interim. So I just wanted to clarify that. And that's why I reached out to the chief to see if the chief was willing to help out in that role. Because I didn't want to assume that he would, and he said he would. So that, I just want to be clear on that. She does not want to be appointed as the interim town administrator completely. She will assist whoever's in place.
Okay. On the note of Shelley, I do think it is very commendable that she would try to interact with us within those 90 days of giving her notice and try to learn the town and the people in town and the players that are involved in everyday activities or business within the town. I did, again, think she had a very impressive resume. She did mention that she was happy where she is, but also that she wanted to come here, which confused me a little bit. But as to Glenn's point, she wants to start a new chapter in her life. I guess this would be a good chapter to start. It's along the lines of what she's done. She has a lot of school background, a lot of administrative background. So I definitely think she is also a prime candidate for this position. One of the concerns I did have is she said she lacked a little bit on the tax end of things, which she said she would,
DLS.
pick up and, educate herself and move forward with that.
And that was setting the tax rate is what it was.
Yes, correct.
Can I just
Yes.
interject on that topic?
Yeah.
Town administrator normally is not involved with setting the tax rate, filling out any of the forms. I did that as the town accountant.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So that's a piece.
Right, the administrator does not have to know how to set a tax rate and how to
Okay.
fill out the tax recap. Because nowhere's on that form does it require a signature from the town administrator.
Just the account.
Just the accountant,
Okay, so we're
town
both,
clerk, the assessors, those are the only people who have to sign off on
okay, so less of a concern on my end then with that.
it, okay?
Yep. I guess that's about all I have at this point.
I did have the concern about not being familiar with Mass General Law as much as far as, because she had the financing from the school department, but she didn't really have it for municipalities, but neither does Michael Durham either. So both of them would have to learn that as they go through. So that was one of my concerns as well.
where I am, for myself, I believe Shelley is a better candidate than Michael.
I think just looking at the pros and the cons, she has more experience, as Glenn said, than Maple Durham does. She has her procurement certification. She has 23 years of business administration. She is in charge of 5 different budgets right now, working with 5 different municipalities on setting the budgets and making sure everyone's adhering to it. She's got the grant skills as far as making sure that everyone is doing the criteria. So she was clear that she didn't write a grant on her own,
Yes.
but she oversees making sure that the grants are being adhered to. Like as you said, Michael's got some great accomplishments as well. But he would need to get the procurement certification. He would need to become familiar with Mass General Law. But both candidates were very motivated and enthusiastic, so
They were, I agree with that.
I know. And he's in charge of 36 department needs and target goals and stuff. So it's not that he doesn't have the administration, he just doesn't have as much experience. Both have union negotiation or contract negotiation experience with unions and non-unions. And both of them kind of had a similar approach to collaboration and communication. They both wanted to do periodic meetings to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
I agree. I did like that about both candidates.
And both have the budgetary background, so.
Big budgetary background, yes, I agree. Well, it's a tough decision, but I think my decision would be to go with Mike Durham.
Is that a motion?
I'm just
Oh, okay.
conversation.
Okay.
Conversation.
Oh, we
I
have two,
think-
so.
Yeah,
that-
and I think where I'm at with this is I don't know Michael's background enough to know if he's from a small town or not, but it sounded like he was from a bigger city where there was a mayor and so forth. So I feel like she can relate to a small town a little bit better, and she understands the hardships of small towns. So I felt like I had that as a pro for her as well. And he talked about bigger budgets, bigger cities, and wanting to get down to the small town level.
Mhm.
So, yeah, like Glenn said, we have two, so we've narrowed it down there, but.
I think moving into a smaller role would be easier than moving.
Not necessarily. It can be, but it can also be, if you're used to working up at the top.
No, I'll make a motion that we offer the position of town administrator to Shelley Beretta at this time.
I will second that motion.
Okay,
Any further discussion?
no discussion.
Like I said, I think we have good candidates. I think it's,
Yeah.
To move forward with it. And that, again, you look at who we have in front of you, we have good candidates.
Absolutely.
It's just kind of what we feel who's going to make a better fit for the town right now. So,
Now with that motion, it's to enter into negotiations with you, correct, Chris?
no, us.
Oh, with us, okay. All right. So there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so our new town administrator, well, as long as she accepts the position, will be Shelley Parita. So the next steps, Kathy, would be for you to contact her and then enter into negotiations. And as Glenn said, just to reiterate, thank you for everyone who came. There's some really good candidates. All right. Now, with that said, coming January 24th is your last day, right? So do we need to appoint the chief? We have a meeting on the 22nd, so we could always do it on the 22nd as well. Okay, so we'll figure out logistics then and figure out who's gonna be, okay.
I think the boards can consider to appoint Kevin O'Grady. Kevin O'Grady should be here.
Yeah.
I would think
So
so.
we can talk to him.
Okay. All right.
Very good.
And those, to enter into negotiation, that's executive session, right?
No,
It's not,
no.
okay.
You can go into executive session to put together what you are considering to offer
Okay.
this individual, but you cannot go into negotiations with that person in executive session.
Okay. And would the board like to do that at our next meeting on the 22nd to go into executive session for discussion on what we're prepared to offer, or?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
so
agreed.
that way we can move forward on that, so that will be next Wednesday.
Agreed.
So that will be at the end of our meeting.
Very good.
All right, next on the agenda is to affirm appointments to the Fire Chief Search Committee. So,
Madam Chair,
yes.
before you start looking at affirming the appointments, I met with Russ Anderson today, and he had forwarded me a document about maybe looking at doing an assessment center. And I just didn't know if the board wanted to consider that before appointing a search committee. Because currently, right now, we have 6 candidates who have submitted letters of interest for the permanent chief position. So I wasn't sure if you wanted to go through a search committee or do an assessment center to evaluate the prospective candidates.
And we haven't done a search a search committee in the past, right? For the previous?
Yes, we did.
Oh,
We did. We had a screening committee,
Okay,
okay? And they came up with the last fire chief's name as the
Okay.
only candidate to bring forward. So, and based upon what Russ is saying, is basically it would be, the assessment center would consist of a review committee with 2 to 3 residents and 2 to 3 industry experts. Basically, he's mentioning he has 3 chiefs that have shown interest in participating in this assessment process. And basically what they end up doing, they review the resumes, then they do a one-day event with multiple role-playing stations. Basically, they may include a simulated emergency response, a budget issue, an employee performance issue, or anything else that the board would want to see how a prospective candidate will handle something that they would encounter in the day-to-day operation as a fire chief. You know, and then basically based upon their responses and how they deal with each of the issues, they would rank them and then send the names forward for potential interview.
and he's saying, the resumes are due back on 1/17, so the, review committee would be a 30-day process.
That's what he figures it would take for an assessment process to occur.
I think it's a great idea. I agree with what Chief Anderson was saying, that just one board interview is not going to give you a clue as to whether or not they can interact or perform all the duties that they're gonna have to do as a chief. Nor do I have the expertise to sit here and say, yeah, you're gonna be a good chief or you're not. I think having other chiefs in the role, or on the review committee, I think is definitely beneficial. So I think we should do what.
And the last time we did an assessment center, we ended up with Chief Anderson at that point.
Okay,
So we had conducted an assessment way back when,
okay.
back in, what was it, 2007?
I like the fact that we can put a couple of residents on and then have industry experts to intermingle that,
Yeah.
to fit the town's needs and obviously the position needs. And if Chief Anderson has 3 other chiefs that are showing interest, then what better
Opportunity.
people could you possibly choose to put that kind of candidate in place to look forward at? So I do agree with it also.
Makes sense.
Right, so,
And I'm sure you already have 2 residents who would be more than willing to volunteer for that committee.
Yeah.
Or
They
probably
might be
present
right here.
here tonight.
so, Mr. George Randall, would you be willing to be part of that committee?
I would.
Okay. Richie Gay? Okay, so we've got our 2 residents. Does it have to be an odd number? Because I know that in the past we.
Yes, it's usually a
Okay.
good idea to have an odd number.
And then we just have to get the names from Chief Anderson for the other 3?
Yes.
So we would do 2 residents and 3 chiefs is what we're
Yeah.
looking for.
Which is what, unless you want another resident, it's up to you.
Then we have an even number, right?
Or we go to two residents and have an uneven number again.
I like odd number committees, I'm sorry.
No, I agree.
Well,
I
is
agree with
Russ Anderson gonna be a voting member?
No, he would help facilitate,
Okay.
Okay.
So,
And
three
if I
three
s-
chiefs and then
and then,
Yeah.
and then the two residents, yes,
residents, okay.
yes.
Unless other residents wanted to join.
Yeah, if we want, just so we say an odd number, I'd hate to say that if you have other residents that would definitely like to be part of it, then I don't see, increasing it by 2 more residents.
Yeah, have a board of 7 instead of 5.
Yeah. All right, that sounds good.
So I will talk with the chief tomorrow. And I'll get the names of the 3 chiefs who are interested. And then we can bring all the names forward on the meeting of the 22nd
Okay.
for official appointment.
And I actually have a couple of people that might be interested in it. Could I reach out to them
Sure.
to see if they're interested and then have them get in touch with Kathy?
Sure.
Okay. I will do that then, reach out to them and see. If they're not interested, then I'll let Kathy know they're not interested, but if they are, then that could possibly get us up to the 7 people.
That's fine.
Very good.
All right, does the board have anything that they want to discuss at the 22nd meeting?
No, I'm not sold on the chief being appointed to the town administrator position.
I think it's Mass General Law.
That's general law, says the chief of police.
I think when the town administrator it usually falls to the chief of police.
But we can do research and see
Yeah.
for the 22nd, because we were gonna discuss it on the 22nd.
And again, not that I have any.
It's a lot of work.
Concerns with Chief O'Grady, I just kind of thinking, we have a safety center, there's one current chief down there. I know we have the fire department, and it's separate, but, I want to make sure that we're fair to Chief O'Grady too, and that he is one that will help the town any way, shape, or form he probably can, to raise his hand and say, well, but I want to make sure that we're being fair to him as well. But I know he'd be more willing to take on the responsibility, and I know that.
If it is Mass General Law, obviously we don't have a choice, so,
Yeah, but you have an assistant town administrator too.
yes, correct.
So, and try and split the duties maybe if you can.
I'm just wondering, how do you run a whole department and then run another half a department, I guess, if you're just helping.
But as a
a
select
lot.
board, we decide who the town administrator, we could appoint someone.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so that will be for the 22nd. We'll discuss that more, and Kathy, if you can reach out to Chief O'Grady and see if he can come to that meeting. Anything else for next time?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. I did look up for the dredging for fresh water, and it's not open yet. So usually opens at the end of January. So hopefully they'll open it. It was a pilot program last year, a pilot grant. So I don't know that it's gonna open again this year, but I'll keep looking. Other than that, that's all I have.
And just so we're clear too, the Mass General Law refers back to the chief, only if the select board chooses not to appoint someone as well.
Okay.
That's the Mass General
Okay.
Law. We still have the authority to appoint whoever we wish.
Very good.
That he'll be here. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, with that said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will Make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.